There's something nobody tells you about deep exhaustion. It's not the kind of tiredness that sleep fixes. It's not the tiredness of working too hard or running too fast or doing too much. It's a different kind, a quieter one that lives on the inside. It's the exhaustion of always managing what people think of you, managing how you come across, managing other people's feelings, managing outcomes, managing the future, managing even your own thoughts so they don't spiral out of control. I lived that way for more than 15 years. And the most frightening part, I didn't even know it. I thought that was just life. Until one day, without planning it, without deciding it, without reading a single book about it or attending any kind of retreat, I simply ran out of energy to keep going. And in that moment, without any drama, without any announcement, something in me let go. I stopped caring about what wasn't mine to carry. Now, and this is important, I'm not talking about indifference. I'm not talking about becoming cold or selfish or disconnected from the world. I still love the people I love. I still give my best to what I do. I still want things to go well. But I stopped carrying the weight of things that were never mine to hold. And that difference changed everything. Think about this for a moment. How many times in a single day do you make a decision not based on what you want, but on what they will think? How many times do you filter what you say, what you post, what you wear, what you do, everything passing first through an invisible court inside your head? I did it constantly, with everything, with what I published, with how I replied to a message, with whether I should speak up or stay quiet, with whether my work was good enough, with whether my life was successful enough, with whether I was enough, period. And the cruelest part of that invisible court is that it never reaches a final verdict. There are always more questions. Will this seem like too much? Too little? Will they think I'm arrogant? Will they think I'm insecure? Will they even understand what I meant? I spent years of my life in that loop, and I called it being responsible. I called it being considerate. I called it doing things right. But in reality, it was fear dressed up as virtue. The other thing I let go of took me years to even recognize: the belief that I was responsible for how other people felt. This is a burden that many people carry silently their entire lives. If someone was upset, I felt I had to fix it. If someone was disappointed, especially if it had anything to do with me, I treated it as an emergency that needed immediate attention. If someone misunderstood me, the panic I felt was almost physical. I spent years turning other people's emotional states into my own urgent problems. And the most paradoxical thing of all, the more I did that, the more I worked to keep the emotional atmosphere around me calm, the less real control I had over anything. Because other people's feelings are not problems you can solve. They are experiences they need to have. The day I truly understood that, something very heavy lifted from my shoulders. I also let go of control. And that one cost me, because control disguises itself as responsibility. It feels like being a serious, committed person who cares about outcomes. But there's a point where controlling stops being care and becomes anxiety with good posture. I wanted to control the results of my work. I wanted to control how the things I was building were growing. I wanted to control the timing, the progress, the pace at which everything was supposed to move. And when things didn't happen according to the timeline I had invented in my own mind, I experienced it as personal failure. I stopped doing that. I started allowing things to unfold, trusting the process without demanding a deadline from it, doing my part with dedication, with love, with effort, and then releasing the outcome. And something interesting happened. I started enjoying what I was doing again. But perhaps the most freeing thing of all was smaller than any of those. I stopped replaying past conversations in my head. You know what I'm talking about. Those moments at 11 at night or 3 in the morning where your mind goes back to something you said 3 days ago or 3 years ago and starts editing it. I should have said this. I shouldn't have said that. If I had reacted differently, if I had been clearer, if I had stayed quiet in that moment, That mental editing room where you're rewriting a film that's already been shot. Nothing useful happens there. Only wear. Only a nervous system convincing itself there's still something to do, something to fix, something you can control if you just think hard enough. When I stopped going into that room, I started sleeping. And that, for me, was almost a miracle. I had spent more than 15 years with broken sleep. Nights of a restless body, racing heart, that state where your nervous system wakes up as if there's an emergency, even when everything around you is completely silent. And I fought it. I got angry at my body. I demanded it calm down. I treated it like a problem that needed solving. But when I finally stopped fighting, when I started simply allowing what was happening without resisting it, something shifted. Not all at once, gradually, but it shifted. The body that had been on high alert for years began, slowly, to stand down, because there was nothing left to defend. No tribunal, no extra weight, no manufactured urgency. And those nights that used to break me, sometimes now I sleep straight through, something that hadn't happened in years. I won't pretend I did any of this through discipline or willpower. I did it through exhaustion, through surrender, through the kind of humility that only comes when you no longer have the energy to maintain the illusion that everything depends on you. And for me, that was also a spiritual process, because there is an enormous difference between believing you can trust something to God and actually letting it go. Believing is easy. Releasing is something else entirely. There's a verse that says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I had read it hundreds of times. I believed it with my mind, but I kept ignoring it with my life. I kept picking the weights back up. I kept carrying the worries. I kept acting as if rest were a reward I first had to earn. But rest is not a reward. It's what happens when you finally admit you can't carry it all, and that you were never supposed to. Today, I like who I am more. Not because I improved, not because I finally made it, not because my life looks more successful or more impressive from the outside, but because I stopped looking at myself through other people's eyes. I stopped judging myself by the standards of a court I invented. And in that silence, in that space where there is nothing left to prove, I found myself again, calmer, more honest, more at peace with what's unfinished, with what turned out differently than I hoped, with what I still don't know and may never know. If today you feel weighed down, if today you are tired of managing everything and everyone, if today your body is paying the price of a mind that never stops, maybe you don't need to try harder. Maybe the only thing you need is to let go. Not everything is yours to carry. Not everything depends on you. And there is an enormous peace waiting on the other side of that truth, when you finally live it, not just believe it. Thank you for being here with me today. If this resonated with you, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And if it meant something to you, a like truly helps this channel more than you know. See you next time.